I didn't want to react emotionally. I wanted to present evidence and facts so that we can come together and implement changes and make changes and hopefully point out where there's flaws and where we can educate so that we don't have something like this happen again.
How confident now that the release has been out there that these changes will take place?
I'm very hopeful.
Does it help that you came with a need, with the ideas to change the system, and not just people on the outside, the actors as they call them?
I mean, there was many different agencies that were involved in this task force. So I feel like, yes, there will be change.
What do you want the public to hear from your story?
That domestic violence is not okay, and it doesn't present itself as a black eye or broken wrist. It's threats, it's controlling somebody's finances, it's threatening their children. If you leave, this is what I will do. Violence is not just physical.
Is that one of the problems with the system to begin with? I mean, you talk about the general public, and they have that perception of, why doesn't she just leave?
Mm-hmm.
Is that ingrained in the system as well, in your opinion?
I think everybody has their own idea of what somebody should do, but each case and situation is different, and what works for some people doesn't work for others.
Do you feel like, obviously, you're a voice for women who have gone through, but do you feel like you're a voice for Dylan too?
Absolutely, and I feel like because there's no one person that you can hold responsible since Derek took his own life, just showing that it's everybody's responsibility to protect children and victims of domestic violence.
How has this impacted your family?
The review team?
The review team, obviously your son's death, how they talked about how they wanted to give a voice to domestic violence survivors as part of this report. How has it impacted your life over the past few months?
It gave hope that it wasn't in vain. If these recommendations and changes are even able to save one person's life, if they can implement a policy, if somebody through training is able to see a pattern of and recognizing lethality factors, then it was all worth it. So.
Is there one area of the systems in place, they were talking about up there, like restraining orders, is there one area that you think fails, women and mothers in particular going through this?
Yes. The thing is, when you leave and you are protecting your children, they portray you as withholding them. And when you go to protect yourself through the PPO, it was said that it was to try and get a one-up in the divorce, to get a hand up in the divorce. So rather than protection from an abuser.
And that must have been frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and
you feel like Joe may have asked us, I couldn't hear everything, but did the system really fail? I mean, you and your family, is that how you feel?
I feel like we fell through the cracks. When we did, we were able to point out and see room for improvements and changes, and that's where this task force came in to help implement and point out some of those changes.
When you say fell through the cracks, I know they talked a lot about victim blaming and really paying attention to the signs. Do you feel like more so wasn't being heard and a lot of victims aren't being heard and survivors?
I think people aren't believed because with especially the psychological abuse and the coercive control, people can't see that. And when you try and explain what's happening, you look and sound crazy, which takes away your credibility.